Most container gardeners have experienced it. You walk outside one morning and your plants are covered in aphids, hundreds of them, overnight, out of nowhere. And you think to yourself, where did they even come from? Most people grab a spray bottle and start fighting. The problem is, by the time you see that many aphids, the infestation is already weeks old. You weren't late to the fight, you just never saw it start. There's a 5-minute habit that experienced container gardeners use every single morning. It doesn't involve sprays, it doesn't involve chemicals, it's pattern recognition. And once you learn it, you'll never lose a plant to aphids again. Before we get into it, I want to know something. Have you ever walked out to your garden and found aphids completely out of nowhere? Drop a comment right now. Yes, it happened overnight. Or, no, I always catch them early. I read every single comment. Let's see which group is bigger.
Routine 1. Check moisture consistency, not just how the soil feels. Most gardeners check their soil when plants look thirsty. That's already too late. Here's what most people don't know about aphids. They're not drawn to dead or dying plants. They're drawn to plants that are mildly stressed, specifically plants with elevated free amino acids in their sap. When a container plant experiences inconsistent watering, not dramatic wilting, but mild, repeated moisture swings, its internal chemistry changes. Free amino acids build up in the sap. To aphids, that's a dinner bell. Think about that. Aphids can detect chemical changes inside your plant before you see a single visible sign of stress. By the time your plant looks thirsty, the signal has already been broadcast. Every morning, check your soil moisture before the day heats up. Not when the leaves droop, before they droop. Consistent moisture doesn't just grow better plants, it makes your plants less attractive to every pest that targets stressed tissue. Are you watering on a consistent schedule or waiting until your plants tell you they need it? Most beginners wait. That's the gap aphids exploit.
Routine 2. Inspect the supports, not just the leaves. Almost every gardener checks leaves. Experienced growers check something else first. Winged aphids, the ones that fly in from outside your garden, don't land directly on leaves. They land on pot rims, cage wires, stakes, trellises. They spend hours exploring before they settle on a plant. That's your window. A single winged female aphid on your tomato cage today can produce a colony of hundreds by next week, without mating. Aphids are one of the few insects that reproduce asexually during peak growing season. One aphid, no partner required, full colony. Think about that. Every morning, run your eye along every stake, every wire, every pot edge. Takes 30 seconds per plant. Finding one winged aphid today is the difference between no problem and a full infestation by the weekend. Routine 3. Always remove the first aphid you find. Most beginners see one aphid and think, it's just one, I'll deal with it later. That logic will cost you an entire plant. Aphids have one of the strangest reproductive systems in the insect world. A single female, the very first one on your plant, may already be carrying developing daughters inside her body. 3 generations can effectively exist inside one aphid at the same time. This is sometimes called telescoping generations, and it's why an aphid colony can appear to explode overnight. You didn't miss a slow buildup. The colony genuinely went from 1 to hundreds in 72 hours. That first aphid you ignored wasn't just one aphid, it was a population. The moment you find any aphid, 1, 2, 3, remove it immediately. Crush it, wash it off. Don't wait.
There is no such thing as a harmless lone aphid on a container plant in peak growing season.
Routine 4. Inspect new growth first, every single morning. Most people check leaves randomly. That's the least efficient way to find an aphid infestation early. Aphids specifically target soft, newly formed growth. The newest leaf on your plant, the one that unfurled in the last 2 or 3 days, is where they go first. The tissue is easier to penetrate. The sap is more accessible. Here's the math on that. Inspecting 20 mature leaves one by one is less useful than spending 10 seconds on the single newest growth tip. That newest leaf is where infestations begin, every time. Look at the newest growth tip first every morning. Check the underside. Look for clustering, distortion, or stickiness. If there's nothing there, your plant is almost certainly clean. 1 leaf, 5 seconds, done. So, if you're finding this useful, there's a lot more still to come. Hit subscribe now. We publish new videos every week on exactly this kind of insider container gardening knowledge. Most of our subscribers say they wish they'd found this channel earlier. Now you have. Stay with it.
Routine 5. Watch ant traffic around your pots. Most gardeners hunt for aphids directly. Experienced growers watch the ants. Ants discovered aphid colonies before you will, almost every time. Aphids produce a sweet, sticky substance called honeydew as a byproduct of feeding. Ants are addicted to it. They actively protect aphid colonies to keep the supply going. So when you see ants moving purposefully up and down a container plant, not just crossing it, but climbing it repeatedly, that's a signal. Not proof of aphids, a signal. Go check the newest growth and the undersides of leaves immediately. Every morning, watch whether ants are crossing your pots or actually climbing them. Crossing? Normal. Climbing repeatedly? Investigate. Ants are doing your surveillance work for free. The only cost is paying attention. Routine 6. Pay extra attention to isolated containers. This one surprises a lot of container gardeners. A container plant sitting alone on a patio, deck, or balcony surrounded by hard surfaces draws more attention from flying aphids than a plant nestled among other containers. The contrast is the problem. A green plant against a blank concrete or wood background stands out visually. Winged aphids navigating from outside your garden are drawn to that contrast. A single pepper plant sitting alone is a bigger target than one sitting in a cluster of pots. Most container gardeners never account for this. Your most isolated containers should get the most attention in your morning check, not because they're weaker, but because they're more exposed. Drop a comment. Do you have containers or potted plants sitting alone on your balcony or patio right now? I want to see how people are setting up their spaces. Routine 7. Watch your plants closely after fertilizing. Most gardening content tells you to fertilize regularly. What that content leaves out is the timing risk. A sudden spike of nitrogen triggers rapid, lush new growth. That new growth is exactly what aphids find most attractive: soft tissue, high sap content, easy penetration. Aphid outbreaks often happen 3 to 5 days after heavy fertilizing. Most gardeners don't connect those two events. They think the infestation came from nowhere. It came from the fertilizer surge. After any fertilization, especially a liquid feed, inspect your newest growth every morning for the next week. That's your highest risk window. Healthy feeding is good. Blind feeding with no follow-up is how infestations take hold while you're not watching. Routine 8. Check one hidden leaf under the canopy every day. Most gardeners look at the top of their plants. Aphid colonies almost always begin underneath. The pattern is consistent. A colony starts on a single protected leaf, usually low on the plant, tucked under the canopy, out of direct sun and wind. From there, it expands outward over days. By the time you see aphids on exposed leaves, the colony has already been established underneath for a week or more. Pick one leaf from under the plant canopy and check its underside every morning. A different leaf each day if you want, or the same one, that works too. The point is to get eyes on the zone where colonies actually begin. Catching a colony on one leaf means removing one leaf. Missing it for a week means dealing with a full infestation across the entire plant.
Routine 9. Act immediately. Never wait for the weekend. This is where most gardeners lose. They find aphids on a Wednesday. They plan to deal with it on Saturday. Saturday comes, and the plant is covered. Here's why that window matters so much. When aphids feed, they alter the plant's chemical signaling. That altered signal may actually attract additional aphids to the same plant. The first aphids don't just reproduce, they may actively recruit more. A colony found on Tuesday and removed on Tuesday is a small problem. A colony found on Tuesday and treated on Saturday is a 3-generation infestation. Find aphids today, remove them today. A damp cloth, a strong jet of water, your fingers, whatever tool you have, right now. Waiting is not cautious. Waiting is expensive.
Routine 10. Look for changes, not just insects. This is the real secret, and it's what separates experienced container gardeners from beginners. Beginners look for aphids. Experienced growers look for changes. Every morning, you're not hunting insects, you're comparing today's plant to yesterday's plant. The signs that show up before aphids become obvious: curled leaf tips, slight leaf puckering, sticky spots on leaves or on the surface below the pot, increased ant traffic climbing the stem, distorted new growth, leaves that look slightly twisted or smaller than expected. These signs appear before any visible colony. They're the plant telling you something is wrong. Most gardeners don't notice them. They're looking for the aphid itself. By the time you see the aphid, you will be late because the plant has been signaling for days. Every morning, ask one question: what looks different today? Changed leaf color? New distortion? Anything sticky? Ants where there weren't ants? That's it. The best aphid control method isn't killing aphids, it's catching the infestation before it exists.
None of this requires a spray bottle. None of it requires chemicals. All of it requires attention. Consistent, daily, specific attention. Let's run through the full routine one more time. 1. Check soil moisture first thing, before the plant looks stressed. 2. Scan cage wires, stakes, and pot rims, not just leaves. 3. Remove the very first aphid you find. Don't wait. 4. Go to the newest growth tip first. That's where infestations begin. 5. Watch ant traffic. Repeated climbing means investigate now. 6. Give extra attention to isolated containers. 7. After fertilizing, inspect daily for the next week. 8. Check one hidden leaf under the canopy every morning. 9. Act the same day you find aphids. Never wait. 10. Look for changes, not insects. What looks different today? 10 checks, 5 minutes, every morning. That's all it takes to run a container garden where aphids never get a foothold. The gardeners who lose plants to aphids aren't doing it wrong. They just don't have a daily routine. Now you do.
Quick question before you go. Out of these 10 routine checks, which one surprised you most? Drop the number in the comments, 1 through 10. I want to see which one most people didn't know. If this video helped you, hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second and it tells YouTube to show this to more container gardeners who need it. Subscribe if you haven't already. We cover this kind of insider plant knowledge every single week. Watering, feeding, pests, soil, spacing, all of it, specific to container gardening. Most of what we cover you won't find in a general gardening video. And if you want to go deeper, consider becoming a channel member. Members get early access to new videos, plus exclusive content that never goes public. The button is right below this video. We'll see you in the next one.